for an emergency situation, well, we don't have modern conveniences. If you had a 55-gallon drum of kerosene, you could have your cooking taken care of, you could have your lighting needs taken care of, and you could have your heating needs taken care of, all without electricity. Kerosene, again, has some really interesting points to it. It's more of an oil than a fuel. It's a fuel, but it's more of an oil. It's not explosive as gasoline is. It doesn't go bad as gasoline does. But what I wanted to show you today was this lantern. It's a pressurized kerosene lantern, and it's pretty neat. Let me show you. Look out the shade. What we have here, let me just go over it real quick with you. When you fill it up just to the top of this fill hole right here, and you fill it right here. This is our pressure gauge. Pour your fuel into there, and you want to make sure that it's sealed. Okay, and this little knob right here is what releases the pressure out of the tank. Okay, right here is the pump to pump up the pressure. Now, I've seen two different ways of doing this. One had they removed this manual pump and they put a bicycle tire valve on it, and you could use your pump on that, your bike pump. Okay. And then, as you come around the back side, you want to make sure that this knob right here, the arrow is pointed up. Okay. And when it's lit, you'll see we're going to point that down. What this does is it closes off the kerosene first off, but it takes our mantle and adjusts its brightness. And the other thing that we have right here, and you'll see how all this operates in a moment. You flip that down, and the kerosene that's under pressure is going to come out of this tube and light. It's pretty neat. I'm amazed at how sophisticated this little system is. When I got this, I could not get it to work really well. I couldn't get the mantle to go bright, and what I actually had happen was this nut right here was loose. I had a leak. If you have a leak on your system, you have to find it and fix it. This just required retightening it a little bit more because, like I said, it's a pressurized system. But once you have it, it's a pretty cool system. I use, as a preheater, 91% alcohol out of this little tube here for this cup inside. Can you see that? There's a cup in there. We're going to pour alcohol into that, like that, and that's going to warm up all these tubes. And once they're warmed up, we want to fill that cup up, let it burn off the alcohol, and then we're going to send the kerosene through the system. And you'll see it sounds more complicated than it is. So first thing we're going to do is fill this up with alcohol. And then when I'm done with it, I just pour the remaining alcohol that's in this back into here so it doesn't evaporate. Let me set this aside for a minute. And we're going to pump the pressure. There's a red, you're not going to be able to see this, but in this pressure gauge, there's a red line. We're going to bring it right up to that red line. Now this takes a few minutes. People say that it's quick, but it takes me a while with this one. So I just hold it like this, and I pump it, and I give it a minute, and I pump it, and I just keep doing it until I get the pressure up to where I need it. more fuel you have in here, the less you're going to have to pump because you have more pressure into it. But if it's getting low, you know, it's going to require more and more pumping. That way, I would always try to fill it right up to here. You don't want to overfill it though. You know, right up to probably the bottom of this fill spout. It only takes a minute or two though to really get it going. I've already got the needle moving. And the more you use this, the better all these gaskets get broke into. I also put Vaseline on these leather gaskets to make them seal a little bit better. I'm right at that line right there. Now I've seen people go past that line quite a bit. This works fine. Now, let me show you. I'm going to bring this valve over like that. This little nozzle fits through a hole right here. Can you see that? And it conveniently fills that cup. When I stick this in, I can just go like this and squeeze this in. And right here I got a slight little leak every so often. I got to kind of push that out. I think some of these are made better than others, but as you'll see, once this thing gets going, it really doesn't matter. I take the match. And I stick it in that same hole that I filled it with, and I light that alcohol. Just like that. And I'm going to give this a minute. To burn off, and all it's doing is heating up these pipes. Kerosene, I pump that down. Kerosene's coming up through that tube. And I'm looking for the mantle to look like it gets lit. As soon as that gets lit, okay, I got it right here. I can turn this on now. See that? And I should be able to do this. Now what you're seeing is those flames. I got to pump this back up, but you're seeing those flames are from the alcohol I just poured into it. And that alcohol will burn off in a minute. But I'm going to repressurize this back up to that red line. I'm almost there. Okay, that's all that took. And then I put this back on. Pick up my valve. And there you go. Have a couple of these. Have a couple of these hanging. You won't be in the dark. Now to turn it off, you release the pressure out of the tank with this little knob right above the pressure gauge. And it'll shut itself off. And then take that knob on the back side and turn it back up. I'll show you what I mean by that. See? That arrow is pointed up. That's all there is to it. With kerosene, you have your lighting also. One last thing. You don't smell the kerosene so badly off of this. You smell it in the very beginning when you start it up, and you smell it when you turn it off. But as it's burning, you don't have that really bad kerosene smell. It's nice to have. You ought to go get a couple.